Let's make some 1840s baby dresses. Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin, and on this channel I teach old-fashioned sewing skills. And yeah, we're gonna make some 1840s baby dresses. Some white ones, like for some fancy rich people stuff. So I found two originals. So we've seen this one before on the channel, and I do have to be careful because its skirt's coming out. But this is very much 1840s. And so it has, I think it's 22 tucks, 24 tucks. It was 20 something. And with very little embroidery on it. So what I'm thinking is do the 21 tucks, and then for the top here, and I'll do mini tucks inside of this part, which is an overlay, and that'll be dress number 1. Dress number 2, I have not shown you actually, and it's a little bit later. It's 1850 to 1851, with the unfitted waist whatsoever, and there's some fitting in the back. One of my favorite things about this one in particular, tucks, but then there is insertion. Like that is literally a piece of fabric that she put into diamonds on the skirt. It is also up here in the insertion. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. There it is. So for this one, being a little bit fancier, I have really nice white work for the bottom edge. We're going to do the same shape because it's early 1840s, because mid 1840s you would still have that triangle shape. The unfittedness isn't around. So what I'm thinking is this, which is the same edging as this, just narrower, right where the other one had the frilly bits. And then on the inside, if I could figure out a way to do that diamondy pattern in rows. And so I think that's going to be our plan. It is going to be a bit of handwork, obviously. So I'm going to get all this other pattern stuff out of the way. I took a pattern off the original. I did not get the triangular portion, so we will grab that. And then we can go ahead and get started on this. Alright, here we are with the main pieces. And that should be 4 fronts and 4 backs. Okay, so we're good there. Alright, starting with the skirt. I always start with the skirt. I don't know why. Maybe because it's easier and it's just nice to get out of the way. With things like this though, it's not, well, I guess it is still easier to put together because it's all straight seams. But with all the decorations we're putting into this one, it's going to be quite the time-consuming project. So I cut a little slit in the back of the wide piece. So we had a narrow piece and a wide piece. So I kind of broke up the wide piece a little bit, and I'm just putting out a little slit, 1/8 or 1/16 inch seam allowance. I'm going to turn it to the right side, and this is going to be liable to tear. So what I see a lot of times on originals is I'm going to take it and just fold it over. You see this on underwear too. I see it on chemises down the front. I see it in petticoats. So really, I even see it in dress skirts when you have the dress skirt that closes straight down the front. This is how we fix that. So it's just a really quick fold over, and we're just going to sew it down. You can use a back stitch. I'm going to do a running stitch. And then I'm going to go back over. So now that is going to cover it. There will be no gap here because we fixed the gap. And this will lay a little bit over like that. Now we're going to sew the side seams together, which I got most of them done. I just had a little bit, I ran out of thread. So, and I wasn't going to film last night, it was too dark. So I left this little bit done or undone so that we can get to it today. And usually on these side seams, we're going to just run them. So do a little running stitch, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. On side seams that aren't going to take a lot of stress, like a bodice seam would take a lot of stress. This would not take a lot of stress. And yes, there's a cat in the background. He hears me talking and decides I'm talking to him. I probably ought to finish the side, because there's a selvage on this side and there's not a selvage on this side, because remember this one was cut in half. I think we're going to leave it and see what happens. And then I'm going to fold down, this is the hem. So I'm going to fold the hem over so that we can, of course, sew that. And on the other end, I'm going to fold over this raw edge just about 3/8 or 1/2 inch to create a nice, smooth, strong edge that's not, raw. We are working on the fully tucked one first. and I've done the hem here. The original had a 1/2 inch turn under and then a 3-inch turn under, so it was a full 3.5 inch hem, which is quite the long hem, but I like really long hems. I think they make garments lay better, and I think they're beautiful. So there's just something about a very nice deep hem that I really appreciate. So I'm happy with this. So you can see two things. One is how many gauging threads are there? There's one. I like it when there's two. I think it always lays better with two, but if the original does one, then we'll do one. Let's see. So I need to put the first tuck not quite an inch, and it's 3/8 of an inch. They are 3/8 of an inch, more or less. So it'll sit like that. All right. This is the first of many, many tucks. I'm not going to bore y'all with the entirety of the stitching, of course. So what we might do is, you saw how we were beginning. I will check in around row 10, because that'll be about halfway. And then I'll show you the last little bit of stitching as well. So we're on row 10. So I gotta figure out where my needle went to. So this is row 10. It's looking really, really nice. I just measured it against the original though, and the skirt's already shorter. So, and I know we didn't cut the skirt to do the 21 tucks. I was trying to save fabric because this is the last set, I believe it's the last set of white dresses that we'll be making, because we've done all the other decades that I usually do. So I didn't want to waste it because it was already cut out. But I'm kind of disappointed that we're not going to do all 21 tucks. So it's already a couple of inches shorter, but it's still a really long skirt. So given that, baby skirt lengths did vary quite a bit, and the original is on the longer end, what I think I'm going to do is finish this one, do one more so that it's an odd number like the original, and just stick with half. Which, yes, is disappointing because I wanted to do all 21 of them. There's about that many tucks in the next one though, so, plus the insertion. So maybe we'll just, content ourselves with that one. But yeah, I'm going to do one more after this. I'll go ahead and gauge this skirt, which we've done so much gauging on the channel. I don't want to waste the video's time doing that on camera. So I will finish this, and then I will meet you back here to do the other skirts tucks. I put on the edging, very simple. In fact, I can just show you. There's the right side of the fabric, so that's what it looks like, and then it's just stitched on, raw edge, all the good stuff. And there isn't a tuck on the original, right where that is, so that the tuck lays and hides the seam, so it looks like it's all one piece of fabric. Now, slight difference because my edging, I cut it a little bit short. Her seam came to the very center, so like where her tuck is, it's the very bottom. Mine's here. So it's 3/8 of an inch difference, but it's still same principle. It looks like it's all one piece. But basically it is one larger tuck, and by larger tuck I mean it's like 3/8 of an inch. Just between 3/8 and a 1/2 inch. And then there's 5 small tucks, which should be about 1/8 of an inch smaller than when I'm making it. And then the 5 of those, there's another big tuck. Then there's a space left, and that's where we're going to do the diamonds in a bit. And then you do that again. So big tuck, 5 small tucks, big tuck, space, and then you do 1 big tuck, 5 small tucks, and then another big tuck. So there's 3 sets of tucks, but only 2 sets with the diamonds. So this is what it's looking at like right now. So I have 2 sets done. So this is big, 5 small, big, space, big, 5 small, and I'm about to do the big one. It's just a very simple running stitch. It's not difficult at all, which is very nice. I'm just eyeballing it. All right, there's a third of it done. So the next tuck, which is another big tuck, is going to be 2 1/4 inches from the bottom of that tuck. Also, my fingers are kind of getting beat up a little bit. This is why you wear thimbles. So I am working on the beautiful diamond things, and I'm almost done. So let's do a section together. It takes me about an hour to do a section, and I split the skirt into 3 parts, so that's the section, is a third of the skirt, but I have 2 rows. And hopefully I only have 1 more hour worth of work. So I'm going to start by measuring and marking halfway in my little gap here. Alright, now my strip is still over here, but it is a strip that is, I'll measure it, I think it's 1.5 inches, maybe it's 2 inches wide. 2 inches? It's 1 inch, a little tiny, it's 1 3/4 inches, so I was right in the middle of that. So 1 3/4 inches, I'm going to now mark off the squares. So what I like to do is fold it in half, and I really try to crease this, that way I have a center mark. I'm not ironing it. I don't want to leave the center crease mark. I'm going to mark off 1.5 intervals and cut almost all the way through. And just keep doing that till you get to the end. Yes, there probably was a lot faster way to do this with a rotary cutter, for example. I'm afraid of rotary cutters, so we're doing it this way. Plus, if you think about it, this is the period way to do it, because rotary cutters were not around back then. Not that anyone would be able to tell that you cut your fabric the period correct way. But I'll know. Alright, and now I'm going to use that little line that I put into the middle of each diamond when I press it with my fingers. And I'm going to make the pins go exactly on that line. I'm going to put a pin into each diamond. I was actually really impressed when I first measured that, because it's not like I measured the width of my skirt versus the original skirt, but somehow it still worked perfectly. So that was not something I planned on. Now I'm going to go around and fold in the edges, just so there's no raw edges. I'm going to make as small as a bite as you can from the front side, just so you don't see the stitching as much, because you really what you want to shine through is, of course, the fabric, not the stitching. Pop my thread on over and do up the other side, which I just pinned, so we didn't pin it earlier, but I pinned it just a second ago. I am going to do a little bit of this on the bodice, which means I need to actually get to that point. I think I'm going to go work on a project for later this month for the rest of the evening, because I think I'm about done with this for tonight. And I will pick it back up tomorrow to finish the bodices, which, considering I did all of the insertion today, it only took me like 6 hours. Still have several hours left of the day. So I think I'm going to make something very quick and simple for dinner, so I don't have to spend a lot of time in the kitchen, and then work on something that's maybe a little bit more fun. Not that this isn't fun, but after you stare at something for 6 hours, you just want to do something different. Now we get started on the bodices. So this is the tucked one. This is the center little panel, which generally those aren't separate panels. It's just made to look like a separate panel. Here, let me see. So you see on the inside, this embroidery part is attached to, like, this is all one piece. The person who did the embroidery, which generally is not the mother. Oh great, as soon as I start talking, there's the AC. I am so sorry. 30 degrees outside, so it's gonna go on because it's cold. But yeah, you take the bodice and then you do the embroidery on top. Now this little seam, this little running stitch, all that is to attach this to make it look like it's 2 separate pieces. If you fold this up, there's the raw edge in there. So this is all one piece. This is very rarely a separate piece. Because I'm doing tucks, and I have that reference saying that some of the centers are done with tucks, there's no way to tuck this part and not tuck this part. So that would have to be separate. I can't think of a way that would not be separate. So we are going to do that. I have sleeves. I think I'm going to take this tuck out and do it a little bit higher up to at least match the scale on the center panel and the skirt, because I did it a little bit closer together. I was trying to fit 3 tucks in there, and it's not going to work with that. I don't think. I might try it. We'll see. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So I'm putting in tucks. It's going a lot faster than the skirt. So at least there's that. Right now it looks like this. And then I'm going to measure it against the one that's actually cut to size to make sure that it's not too big or too long, because I did add quite a bit of length, so I may end up cutting this down a little bit. Alright, I'm working on the... Okay, there's the tucked one and there's the other one. I want to call it the shadow work one, or the diamond one. I think I'll go diamond. The diamond one, that's what we're working on now. So what I've done, you can probably see here, is I did a center diamond, and then the original has half diamonds on its spots, because remember, it doesn't have a waist, but it has a diamond that's split in half, and then it put an insertion in there. I actually thought about, instead of doing a half, doing an insertion here and just having the diamonds there. I thought about it, but I decided I was going to just add in the half diamonds that we see in the original bodice here. So I just finished pinning it. Kind of creates these nice little chevrons, which I think are really cute. There's just so many pins everywhere, it's hard to get my needle around to where I'm not looping thread anywhere. But I kind of need all the pins there for just a minute. I think I felt one just pop out. I still have to put a couple of tucks in this one's sleeves. The other one has its sleeves attached, of course, and it has everything done except for the neckline. This one I still need to work a little bit on the sleeves. I have half of the waistband sewn on, but I wanted to show you how I did the other half. Of course, I'm still working on the decoration. I have to say, it's really satisfying to have all these pins in these little projects and get to take them out. Alright, now we're going to flip this over and sew in this part, which is kind of like a blind stitch. Now I did cut this down slightly to kind of give it that V look. So you notice it's much fuller here than it is down here. It's very much on par with the 1840s originals, which I just bought a new one last night because it was on Etsy for 30 bucks. And so I bought it. It's not going to come in by the time of this video, unfortunately, but it's very similar to the tucked one. Also on the tucked one, there was a little bit of edging this way. I didn't have enough of the embroidery that I'm using on the tucked one to do that, so I thought I'd add it to here. But it's just a little strip because I actually had exactly the amount. I have no more of this lace left or of this edging left. I have nothing because it happened to be the exact amount that I needed to put it right there. So I figured that was just, it was meant to be. So this is just a, let's see, I think it's a 2-inch strip that I folded the edges in. And so it's just, there's the bottom edge in here, the not raw edges, but the open edges, and I just sandwiched the bodice in between. That's what the original shows, the tucked original shows. So let's make sure that this works. It works on the other one, so in theory, yep, just pull it right out. Alright, this is the diamond one again, and I'm just putting on a binding. I ended up having to plain bind both of them because I am short 2 inches, actually 1.5 inches. Did a running stitch and then flipped it over, and making sure that there's enough space for a small tape because obviously we need to close this gown somehow. And then we are 2 steps away from being done. Step 1, attaching to the skirt, and step 2, which is the easy step of putting the tapes or the ties into both the neck and waist. Distribute some of these little gauging threads, and each and every tiny little pleat gets whipped to the waistband. Every single one. Are you ready for bed, Cayenne? I know. You tried to get me to go to bed earlier today. It was like 10 a.m. in the morning.
10 a.m. in the morning?
I know. I shut the bedroom door so Lady wouldn't get on the bed. And he would just sat there at the door screaming at me. And I let him in. And he hopped on the bed and just looked at me. Like, okay, time to come cuddle. Alright, we're going to do things just a little bit differently. So we're going to show them with the originals alongside, and then I'll show you both at the end together. So this is the tucked one. Obviously I didn't do as many tucks. I mean, I'm happy with it. It's an 1840s, 1850s baby dress. I think it looks great. They're just so long. Every time I'm just like, oh, that's a really long dress for an infant. Especially because you had to realize that waist is going to go to an infant's belly button, if not below. 1840s waists are long. A lot of people like to think that baby clothes don't really change because the styles, the bodice style does stay basically the same from like 1820-ish or 1825-ish to about 1870, maybe 1875. The sleeves change every couple of years. The skirt lengths do get shorter. And the bodice lengths change. That's the biggest thing. They follow the lines of women's dresses. So in 1825 you have really short bodices. They get longer and longer. They get longest in the 40s. And they go back up a little bit for the 60s and then go up even further. Okay, my skirt ended up being a little bit longer. I bet that's because of the really long waist. And the fact that this is a little bit of a different bodice. It's a little bit shorter than the other one, so that's because this is a slightly later original dress from the early 50s. So the skirt did end up being just a hair longer, maybe like 1.5 inches. That's not too bad. I am really proud of those diamonds. Do my diamonds look as good as hers? No. Are hers perfect? No, actually. Some of the issues that I was having, I noticed in several places she also had. I don't know if it's because it's the first time I've done the technique, but mine tend to have a few more places that didn't look as perfect. But she definitely had the same problems as me, so that's helpful. Mostly it's, again, not cutting the valleys as deep as they need to go to get a really defined diamond shape. And I'm just incredibly impressed with how that bodice turned out because it looks really good. I mean, with the diamonds and then the way it kind of comes in to create that little chevron, I think it's adorable. This might be my favorite dress that we've made for infants, mostly because of all the work I had to put into it. Lots and lots of tucks. I did a lot of tucks this project. I don't think I want to tuck anything for a really long time. But hey, they're cute. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe to the channel, click that little bell for notifications so you're notified anytime I upload a new video. And as always, have a fantastic week, and I'll see you back here in the next video.